A new snapshot of the race for U.S. Senate shows neither candidate pulling away.
We have to keep our foot on the gas. We are going to be going up against the entire political establishment.
We don't want my opponent representing Texas, maybe California, but not Texas.
We break down the latest poll and what the numbers tell us about this crucial race. The capability of artificial intelligence is growing faster than rules governing its power. So what happens if a powerful AI system goes too far?
It can have national security implications and public safety implications if we do not have the ability to throttle it back or to...
We talk with a Texas congressman about a bipartisan push to keep humans in control of AI.
Our next 9/11 is coming.
Texas senators get a warning about an emerging public safety threat, why drones are a growing security concern, and how the state could respond.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. With less than 3 months to go before Election Day, we're getting new information that shows the race for U.S. Senate will be close. Emerson College polling and Nexstar Media surveyed 1,000 likely Texas voters and released those poll numbers Thursday. Among likely Texas voters, Ken Paxton has a 1-point lead over James Talarico for Senate, 47 to 46%. That's well within the poll's margin of error. Also, 7% of those surveyed said they're either undecided or wanting either someone else. Digging deeper, the poll also asked whether voters had favorable or unfavorable opinions of the candidates. These are the numbers for Ken Paxton. The green bar up here shows 43% view him favorably. The red bar down here has his unfavorable number at 44%. 12% said they were neutral or never heard of Paxton. Talarico's favorable number is slightly higher than Paxton's, and fewer voters viewed him unfavorably. 15% of likely voters surveyed said they were neutral or never heard of Talarico. Other recent polls have shown Talarico with a slight lead in the race. Capitol reporter Adam Schwager spoke with Representative Talarico about the close polls and his message now for voters.
What is your thoughts on where your standing in this race is and how you are planning on executing a strategy based on that?
Yeah, we are the underdog until the last vote is counted. And we are campaigning like we are 5 points behind. We have to keep our foot on the gas. We are going to be going up against the entire political establishment. We're going up against the billionaire mega donors that own Ken Paxton. We're going up against those corporate special interests that have so much influence with Ken Paxton. So they're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to try to stop me. They're going to be airing all kinds of lies on television and on the radio and in people's mailboxes to try to keep Ken Paxton in power because they depend on him doing their bidding and selling us out. So we've got to be ready for that, and that's why we're campaigning across the entire state. We're going to every region of Texas. We've traveled from Beaumont to El Paso. We've gone from Amarillo to Brownsville. We've gone to big cities, small towns, red areas and blue areas alike, and Texans are responding to this message of taking on corruption and lowering our costs.
As we wrap up, you're on this New American Dream tour. If you had to pick, just one sample of what you're saying on the road and hearing on the road for our viewers at home to hear, what would you want to say about it?
Yeah, everywhere I go across the state, Texans are drowning. We can't afford the basics. Groceries, gas, utilities, healthcare, childcare, the things that we need to get by, the things we need to survive. And it's not just affecting Democrats, not just affecting Republicans or independents. It is impacting all of us. All of us are getting screwed by a rigged system that was rigged by puppet politicians like Ken Paxton. It's why we can't get ahead no matter how hard we work. It's why we can't afford anything these days. And so what we need to do is come together across these manufactured divisions, across party, across race and culture and religion and language. We got to come together so that we can take on this corruption and we can start to lower our costs, raise our pay, and get this economy back on track.
I really appreciate you taking the time. Is there anything else that you want to say for our viewers? Last word's yours.
Well, before I was a candidate for office, before I was a lawmaker, I was a public school teacher. And that is the kind of servant leadership we've been missing in our politics for a long time. We've got teachers and veterans and nurses and firefighters and police officers serving our communities every day. We need a little more of that kind of service in our politics, and that's what I'm trying to bring back by beating the most corrupt politician in our state and actually serving the people of Texas.
There's more to our interview with Talarico, including his policy positions on data centers and the ban on certain THC products. We posted Adam's full interview on our website. Just look for the link in this week's State of Texas story. Paxton was not available for an interview with us. For context, we want to play some comments he made about Talarico last month during an event in South Texas. Paxton took a question about why he thinks Hispanic voters should support him. His answer highlights issues he's been bringing up on the campaign trail.
My opponent, of course, once this community knows what his views are on transitioning boys into girls and girls into boys and boys and girls sports, they're not going to support him.
What's your message to Hispanic voters to try to keep them in the fold?
Yeah, I think it's issues like that, highlighting what I've done to protect children and what my opponent is doing against children. Talking about taxation, where he's voted to increase taxes and I voted to decrease taxes. We have many issues that this community will support. If they know what he actually believes, he doesn't have a chance.
While the overall margin in the poll is small, there is a big divide between younger and older voters. Take a look. The poll found voters under 50 favored James Talarico by a 15-point margin. It's much different for older voters. Voters over 50 break for Paxton by 11 points. That is significant. Historically, older voters turn out in larger numbers. For example, census data shows in the 2024 election, 58% of voters in Texas were age 45 or older. When it comes to the race for governor, Greg Abbott is used to blowing out his Democratic opponents. He's faced 3 gubernatorial elections since 2014 and won them all by double-digit margins. But early polling suggests this year could be closer. The August poll from Emerson College and Nexstar Media asked 1,000 likely Texas voters who they'd support for governor. The results show Abbott with a 4-point lead over Democrat Gina Hinojosa. That is within the survey's margin of error. The poll suggests that Hinojosa has an opportunity to gain ground. 40% of people surveyed have a favorable opinion of the Democrat. That's the green bar that you see here. The red bar at the bottom shows 27% view her unfavorably. But look at the gray bar that's in the middle. 1/3 of voters in the poll are either neutral or have never heard of Hinojosa. The numbers for Governor Abbott are much different. Only 6% of the people in the poll have no opinion about him. His favorable rating is slightly higher than his unfavorable number. Texans who use mail-in ballots will face changes this November. On Wednesday, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals reinstated a set of provisions from the Texas Legislature's Election Integrity Protection Act of 2021. District courts had blocked certain provisions from the law, saying they violated the Americans with Disabilities Act. With the new ruling, Texas will require anyone assisting with ballots to sign an affidavit saying they did not coerce or intimidate the voters they helped. They also will require some form of state ID number or social security number be listed on any mail-in ballot. While a study from the Brennan Center for Justice found 1 in 7 mail-in ballots were rejected under these rules in 2022 primaries, the Act's author says he doesn't expect it to happen again.
The Fifth Circuit noticed that the rejection rate went from 12% and change down to less than 3% in just 8 months. And the folks who testified said as voters learn about it, it continues to go down.
Attorney General Ken Paxton celebrated the move, calling it a major win to prevent voter fraud. A newborn, a legal battle. Could it change the future of surrogacy in Texas? Why some families are now worried about what lawmakers might do next. As artificial intelligence gets more powerful, it's raising concerns the technology could go too far. Now, one Texas congressman has a plan to keep humans in control.
I don't think we have had a threat like this, at least in my lifetime.
They're cheap, powerful, and increasingly accessible. Now security experts are sending a warning about drones, the message to lawmakers about the growing risk here in Texas. A complex legal battle over a baby boy born in North Texas this week has some worried about the future of surrogacy across the state. It started with a California couple planning to have a baby through a surrogate from Alaska. A medical checkup at the 20th week of pregnancy revealed the child would be born with a heart defect requiring surgery to save its life. According to the Texas Attorney General's office, the couple decided to terminate the pregnancy. The surrogate then traveled to Texas to give birth and fight for custody. A judge in North Texas issued an order earlier this week that requires the child remain in Texas and receive medical care until a hearing later this month. Capitol reporter McKim explains there could be larger issues at play. The case comes at a time when Texas Republicans are debating whether there should be new restrictions on surrogacy.
This was one of my first surrogacies.
At the Chaw Law Group in Austin, family law attorney Christine Henry Andreessen displays some of her successes.
This is a surrogacy baby.
She helps clients with adoptions, IVF, and surrogacy. But in the midst of a legal standoff over a surrogate baby in Texas, Andreessen said her clients have been calling.
Are these clients that are worried about anything?
I have clients who are wanting to do surrogacy in Texas in the future and wondering if it's going to be made illegal based on this case.
We need to send a strong and clear message to Austin.
At the Texas State Republican Convention this summer, a majority of delegates made it clear they want lawmakers to ban IVF and commercial surrogacy. Texas lawmakers have said they will address commercial surrogacy in next year's legislative session.
We are going to look at the practice potentially of commercial surrogacy. And is that being monetized?
Andreessen is worried future legislation will be influenced by cases like the one playing out in Texas currently, instead of the surrogacy success stories that are more common, like one Texas woman who told lawmakers she used a surrogate to grow her family.
So we've had 3 children, 2 that I've had and 1 that we had via surrogacy, and it was the best experience that we've had.
Dylan McKim, State of Texas.
A hearing in the case for baby Gabriel in North Texas is scheduled for August 25th. Artificial intelligence is changing everything from jobs to national security. So what happens if a powerful AI system goes too far?
When that happens, that puts humans at risk.
We talk with Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran about his push to create an AI kill switch. Drones are transforming warfare overseas. Now Texas lawmakers are examining whether the deadly threat could emerge closer to home. What we're learning about the risks and the response. As artificial intelligence becomes more powerful, some lawmakers are warning that the technology has the potential to pose serious safety risks. Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran is pushing legislation aimed at preventing uncontrolled AI systems from causing harm. Congressman Moran joins us now to talk about the proposal and what it could mean for the future of artificial intelligence. Thank you for joining us.
Josh, great to be with you. This is a critically important discussion that we need to be having with our constituents here in Texas.
Well, we know that you are leading a bipartisan push for the AI Kill Switch Act. What problem are you trying to solve exactly?
Well, here's what we're trying to solve is we do not want to stifle innovation, but what we want is innovation to be under our control ultimately. Artificial intelligence is going to be a great tool for the human race. It will advance all kinds of things scientifically, medically, economically for us, but we can't let it get outside of the parameters that we set for it. And what we've seen this summer is a lot of these models are getting out of the parameters and the sandboxes that their human developers have intended for it. When that happens, that puts humans at risk. And so we want to make sure that these large models with lots of capacity actually ultimately have a kill switch built in so that humans can turn it off, throttle it back, cut off user access, do the things that are necessary to protect ourselves from the very technology that we're developing.
Yeah, what would trigger that kill switch in your bill? Who decides when an AI system is dangerous enough to shut something down?
Well, the way Representative Ted Lieu from California and I decided to put things in this bill was we would say, look, we want to target just those models that are publicly available, the really large functioning models that, as we define it, more than $500 million in revenue per year and publicly available. We want to make sure that they have a mandatory kill switch, that these private development companies put in there so that if there is what we call a covered incident, an instance where it gets outside of loss of control instance, where it gets outside of the control of the human developer or creates a national security or public safety risk, and we enumerate those specifics in there, that automatically then they would exercise those kill switches. Sometimes it's just a need to throttle it back. Sometimes it's a need to cut that user access, but sometimes it's a need to overall just kill the model until they can get it under control. So we're not targeting small developing companies. We want innovation to reign supreme. We need to beat the Chinese in this area, and that means we've got to have innovation from the bottom up. But for those large models that are getting outside the sandbox, we want to be able to throttle them back. Hopefully we won't have to do that, but boy, we've seen some instances this summer when AI models started doing things that humans did not intend. And if we're gonna create a technology that can get outside of what we intend, we need to be able to rein it back in when and if necessary. We want a light touch, though, very light touch.
Another Texas Congressman, Greg Casar, has proposed an AI tax to help workers who lose their jobs because of this technology. Is that something you would support? What's your message to Texans who worry about the potential of AI taking their jobs?
Yeah, I haven't seen Greg's bill. I know it's out there. I saw that he'd filed that, and just from a general philosophical standpoint, I don't think that I would be able to support that notion, because there is so much transformation of our workforce day one to day two. I'm not sure how he's going to figure out a way to say, well, this particular industry lost jobs as a result of AI, when in fact AI, if used correctly in the workforce, will enhance the skills of our workforce, will enhance the economic viability of our workers long term. That's what we want to see happen. We do not want to tax and regulate this industry to death. That's certainly not the approach we want to take at all. We want to maintain safety and security measures in place to make sure that humans are still in the middle of it, but we don't want to stifle innovation, and we certainly don't want to punish companies that are at the forefront of the edge of this new technology. We want companies to continue to research and develop and to stay ahead of China in this area. I certainly understand where he comes from on the effort, but that's not something that I agree with.
Congressman, we know you're a busy guy. Thank you for being with us even when you're out there on the road.
Thanks so much. Pleasure to talk to you.
Nothing bad has happened in the U.S. yet, but it's going to happen.
Texas lawmakers hear stark warnings about the threat of drone attacks and the state's ability to stop them. The response and what's next. Texas lawmakers heard a warning Wednesday at the Capitol. The next 9/11 attack is coming, and this time drones could deliver the deadly blow. It came during a hearing of the Senate Select Committee on Homeland and Border Security. Daniel Moran reports on how senators heard testimony on the threat of drone attacks targeting people and critical infrastructure, and what needs to happen now to protect Texans.
Nothing bad has happened in the U.S. yet, but it's going to happen.
Dr. Michael McGee, an expert in drone technology, came to the Capitol with a warning for lawmakers.
I don't think we have had a threat like this, at least in my lifetime, that this extensive, incredible technology is available to everybody.
He pointed to the deadly use of drones in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Both sides found ways to evade expensive detection systems. And McGee said people considering attacks on Texas are taking note.
That is something that every bad actor, to include the cartel, has learned, and which makes a lot of the $500,000 detectors blind to drones that are coming across the border.
Senators on the Homeland Security Committee acknowledged the threat.
We're very, very much exposed to any type of drone attack from the border.
McGee pointed to the need to protect large events from drone threats, like the upcoming Formula One U.S. Grand Prix in Austin.
Several 100,000 people in one place, 10 weeks away. DPS should own that counter-drone mission for that race.
During this summer's World Cup games in Texas, DPS used advanced technologies to track and stop unauthorized drones. The funding came from a $3.2 million federal grant. It will take millions more, though, to deal with the risk of drone attacks.
How do we protect all of the sites across Texas that need to be protected? Southern border, critical infrastructure, sporting venues, correctional facilities, the list goes on and on, schools. The amount of equipment that it takes is extensive.
Senators encourage DPS to think big in the next budget and vow to push for funding to keep Texans safe.
Look at the size of and scope of the problem, and to not be shy in asking for the resources to address that.
McGee urged lawmakers to take action quickly.
In security terms, today, August 12th, is August 12th, 2001. 30 days. Our next 9/11 is coming. The question is whether Texas builds the defenses before it arrives.
Daniel Marin, State of Texas.
Wednesday's testimony came during an interim committee hearing. The legislature is not in session right now. These hearings help lawmakers determine what legislation needs to be drafted for consideration in the next legislative session. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.